Hello, and welcome to this session where we'll be using the so-called PublonPress microservice to do machine learning on student results. So there is a series of videos which outlines everything in this interface and all the options available. But in this video, we'll just quickly get into the machine learning and the table operations. So on this interface, you'll see a couple of options up here and a navigator. And so if we want to create something, we hold down the Alt key. So when you see these square brackets with a letter, that tells you what the keyboard shortcut is. So you have to add Alt plus that key. So if I say Alt 1, then it's going to bring up a text element of type text. Alt 2, we can include an image. Alt 3 is a user interface element, and Alt 4 is the data table. So that's the one we'll be spending time on. So we are looking at creating a data table, and let's use as a template class results. And now to add that to our workspace, we hit Control Enter. And we can see here, we have a data table. We can see test results. We can see student numbers here. Here's the exam, and here's the overall result. So in this data set, the tests count for 10% each. The exam counts for 60%, and that's the final result there. So let's do a bit of regression on this. So for an object, they sometimes have object attributes. So these are more detailed settings that you can amend here. So, and in fact, in this case, you've got a whole operation possibility as well. So that's for a data table. If we were to create something else, let's say we create an image, for example. So we specify the type of image as a student and hit Control Enter. Then that's adding an image after this. So you can see, or if you want to add something else here, tiger or whatever. So that's going to give us images there. And if you look under the attributes for that, there's nothing in the attribute space for an image. But if we, what we want to do now is adjust the attributes for this data table. We want to do some exploration on this data table. So to select it, we need the navigation tab. So you can click here, or you can hit Alt N, and we can see there's our data table, right? So you'll see the outline appears here on the data table. And then also, if these drop-down menus are distracting, all you need to do is hit Escape. And then if you hit Escape again, and there are no drop-down menus, it will give us the kind of preview mode. So Escape again, and you see the bar with all the options has disappeared. Then if you hit Escape again, then that bar comes back and it shows us what we are focused on at the moment. So with the focus on the data table, so again, you go to the navigator, you choose your focus point there. And with the focus on the data table, when you go into the object attributes, you'll have the operations available for a data table. And you can see various things you can do. You can do machine modeling, linear regression, and so on. And so if we choose linear regression, so let's try and predict a linear regression here. So we need to specify which is the output field, and we select that here under column or label. So nothing is showing at the moment because this form rendered before the results became available. So we have to click on Refresh Fields. Now we've got available a list of attributes here. So let's select the final result as the thing we are trying to predict. And then we want to predict that from the test results. So let's include here test 1, test 2, test 3. Let's just use the first 3 tests. And notice that this name is exact. That's exactly how it appears as the name of the attribute. And bringing that back. And then we use semicolons to delimit this list. So this is a list of 3 things delimited by the semicolon, and the names have to be exact there. So that's everything we need now. We've specified we are trying to predict the final result using as inputs these attributes. And so we can just say operate. And okay, the table has rendered down here now. And we can see there's an extra column here, which says final result underscore M. So that's the prediction from the linear regression. And so we have two columns now. And by the way, there are about 100 entries here. So you can page through all these entries here. And if you are looking for specific values, so you can just start typing up here and it will filter your data set. So anyway, we have the prediction and the results. We'd like to visualize that. So let's go over to our navigator. And in fact, let's just delete some of these. Let's get rid of this image. So you highlight that, and then I think it's Alt-Delete or Alt-Backspace or Control-Delete. Yeah, Control-Delete. And let's get rid of the tiger as well, Control-Delete. Okay, so we are here now. And so let's give the data table focus. So we click on that. And now we can see under our attributes, we can do a 2D plot. And so for this 2D plot, again, we need to refresh fields. For this 2D plot, we need to choose the y-axis. So on the y-axis, we want, on the x-axis, let's just take the index number. So the index, that just counts down the columns. And let's use as the two things we want to plot. Let's plot final result, and again, a semicolon as a delimiter. And let's go final result underscore M. So that's the prediction from our linear regression. And we just say operate. And we can see down here now that our linear regression has done fairly well. And yeah, we've got a fairly good model to predict the final result if we have just, and I think we use just 3 test results. Okay, so that's how we can do linear regression. So all these other operations are available here. We can do nonlinear regression as well. We can produce a machine model, and we'll have a separate video on that. We can also solve ODEs and so on. And this list will keep growing as we become interested in other table operations. You do also have a column operation here. So yeah, you can add more columns using this. So for instance, if you wanted to add a new column, which is 3 times the student number for whatever reason, then you can see you can add that there. And I forgot to add a column name, so it called it column 10. So under column operations, you can also calculate the number of standard deviations away from the mean. So let's say the final result, let's use the final result and number of standard deviations from the mean. Let's put this as a new column of Z score. And so because we've chosen this to be ZVal, it's going to ignore this text down here. If we had chosen user created function, then it would use this. But because we are choosing ZVal, it will only use these 2 things. It will use that as the name of the new column, and it will do the Z calculation on that column. So if we do that, we've got the Z scores here. That's the number of standard deviations away from the mean. So we can see this student, for instance, with a final result of 20% only. That is well below the mean. So that's more than 2 standard deviations below the mean. If we order it in the other direction, there's 100%. That's also more than 2 standard deviations above the mean. So those are unusually good results. Okay, so that's a brief introduction to table operations. And there'll be more videos taking us through all the steps all the way to machine modeling. Thanks for listening.